This is Top Accolade Global News Update. I am Soibifa Jackridge. Thousands of residents were ordered to evacuate from the part of a still active landslide in Papua New Guinea by the government after parts of a mountain collapsed, burying an initial estimate of more than 2,000 people. Relief teams in the Pacific nation have been trickling into the difficult-to-access northern Enga region since Friday, though officials said the odds of finding survivors were slim. Residents said they have been using shovels and bare hands to search for survivors. A state of emergency has been declared across the disaster zone and a neighboring area with a combined population of between 4,500 to 8,000. Although not all have been ordered to evacuate yet, Tisaka said. Military personnel have set up checkpoints and are helping move residents to evacuation centers, he said. Heavy equipment and aid has been slow to arrive because of the remote location, treacherous terrain and tribal unrest in the area, forcing the military to escort the convoys of relief teams. More than 2,000 people were buried in the landslide, which occurred early Friday, according to the government. That is sharply higher than the initial estimates by the UN, which has put the possible death at more than 670. Former head of the local government, Jiman Yandam, estimated the deaths at 162. Only 5 bodies have been recovered so far. The variance in the total number of possible deaths reflects the difficulty in getting an accurate population estimate. The mountainous nation's last credible census was in 2000, and a 2022 voter roll doesn't include those under 18. North Korea's latest satellite launch exploded in a fireball before dropping into the Yellow Sea just minutes after lifting off. But analysts say the attempt showcased new strides in the nuclear-armed country's race for space. North Korea said its latest attempt to launch a military reconnaissance satellite failed in flight during the rocket's first stage, which featured a new liquid oxygen and petroleum engine. An initial analyst suggested that the cause of the failure involved the new developed liquid fuel rocket motor, but other possible causes were being investigated, a report carried by state media said. Although state media did not name the rocket or release photos, analysts said it was most likely different from the Kolyma-1 rocket used in the successful satellite launch in November 2023. The Kolyma-1, which also suffered several explosive test failures, uses hypergolic fuels, substances that can be stored at room temperature but ignite on contact each other, requiring careful handling. US officials and independent analysts said the Kolyma-1 appeared to be based on systems developed for North Korea's nuclear-tipped intercontinental ballistic missiles, which typically do not use liquid oxygen because of frigid temperatures required for storage. A petroleum fuel and liquid oxygen engine may suggest that Russia, which vowed last year to help North Korea's satellite program, may have provided assistance, said Lee Chung-gyun, an honorary research fellow at South Korea's Science and Technology Policy Institute. Some analysts questioned why North Korea would switch engine types, but Lee said it could allow Pyongyang to separate its civilian space program from the ballistic missile banned by United Nations Security Council. Russian experts have visited North Korea to help with the satellite and space rocket program, Yonhap News Agency reported, citing an unarmed South Korean senior defense official. Torrential rain brought by Cyclone Rema caused a collapse in a stone quarry in India's remote northeastern state of Mizoram, killing at least 10 people, while harsh weather hampers efforts to rescue those trapped, authorities said. Weather authorities said the powerful cyclone had weakened into a depression after devastating regional coastlines the previous day, killing at least 16 and cutting power to millions in parts of eastern India and neighboring Bangladesh. Bitter weather was holding up rescue efforts in Metam, the site of the quarry outside the state capital of Aizawl, a state disaster management official said. There were no immediate detail of the number trapped. The heavy rain in Mizoram, which borders Bangladesh, also unleashed landslides in the region. Authorities in India's eastern state of West Bengal were working to restore electricity lines in the worst affected areas after Remal stripped power lines and uprooted trees. It is the first of the frequent storms expected to pound the low-lying coast of the South Asian neighbors this year as climate change drives up surface temperature at sea. Toyota Motor showcased next-generation engines on Tuesday that can be used in cars as varied as hybrids and those running on biofuel, as it targets tougher emission standards and doubles down on its strategy of selling more than just EVs. At a media event with pairs Subaru and Mazda Motor, the world's biggest automaker by volume displayed in development 1.5-litre and 2.0-litre engines with significantly reduced volume and height versus current engines. The three said their efforts will help decarbonize internal combustion engines by making them compatible with alternative fuel sources such as e-fuels and biofuels. They also hope more compact engines will revamp vehicle design by allowing for lower hoods. Toyota was widely considered an EV laggard, but a slowdown in EV growth has seen its benefits from an uptake of petrol-electric hybrids, refreshing its traditional engine technology against that backdrop mirrors a similar move at Mercedes-Benz. While BYD is set to unveil new hybrid technology with lower fuel consumption later on Tuesday, Japanese automaker said its new 1.5-litre engine will achieve volume and weight reduction of 10% off versus its existing 1.5-litre engines, which it uses in cars such as its Yaris Compact. The new 2.0-litre turbo engine will have similar gains versus existing 2.4-litre turbo engines used in bigger models such as 3-row sitting sports utility vehicles. Chief Technology Officer Hiroki Nakajima declined to say when Toyota will launch models equipped with the engines. Automakers face tougher emission standards in markets such as the European Union, where policymakers are working towards emissions rules known as Euro 7 for cars and vans from 2030 before banning sales of new CO2 emitting cars from 2035. More than 100 business leaders have given their support to Britain's opposition Labour Party before a July 4th election, saying the country needs to end the instability and stagnation that has dogged the economy. Rishi Sunak's governing Conservative have typically been the party of big business, but Labour's finance policy chief Rachel Reeves has spent years courting business owners in a bid to show her party can be trusted to run the economy. The letter, signed by current and former chief executive in retail, advertising, travel and finance, said Labour had shown it had changed and should be given a chance to shape the country's future. Labour will hope the endorsement shows that it is no longer the party of Starmer's predecessors, veteran left-wing lawmaker Jeremy Corbyn, who campaigned at the last election in 2019 to renationalize some key assets and hike taxes on the rich. Leaders who signed the letter include the boss of retailer Iceland, the chairman of JD Sports, the head of UK arm of ad giant WPP, the former CEO of Aston Martin, and the former founder of a children's company that once included Sunak's wife Akshata Moorthy as an investor. Starmer's Labour have held an around 20 points lead in polls for almost a year. It has accused the government of 14 years of economic mismanagement, failing to give business the stability it craves and leaving people worse off. Britain's economic performance since the coronavirus pandemic has been the weakest among the group of 7 economies, with the exception of Germany, weighed down by high levels of debt and stuck in a rut of slow growth. That is the size of top accolade global news update. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Tuesday.